Hey everyone, it's Fun Around, and my name is Jordan, and I'm gonna say this. I said it last year. This is my third season doing the NBA playoffs. The first season doing the NBA playoffs was a little rough. I didn't know what was coming with adjustments and everything, and I told myself the NBA playoffs is one of the toughest things to bet when it comes to the NBA season. You have NBA playoffs, I would put like number one, and then you have like the tanking and all that. That's kind of hard to navigate, but can be done. And then the best part's kind of like the middle of the year when teams are just playing hard and no one's really worried about tanking or anything like that. So just like last year, with things starting off not too great, I'm going to say welcome to the NBA playoffs. This is how it's going to be throughout the NBA playoffs and betting on the NBA playoffs if you are new to it. With these game ones, they came in with different game plans. You have to kind of project the game plans. Teams during the NBA season, they get kind of a scouting report written out. They read it for the game and all that. They're not sitting there watching film on every single little thing, looking for a weakness on the team they're about to play, because they have another game the next night, or a couple of nights, and it's different teams all around. So you're just working on what you do. But now you can watch film, you can try to find a weakness, and you can try to exploit that, and you can play things differently. So, for example, one of the plays, and I know I'm talking a lot, and you're like, well, just get to the picks or whatever. I feel like this is important, and I'm going to talk about it. So the Celtics play the Magic. Celtics crush Paolo Banchero during the regular season, just playing their regular defense. So they come in, and Paolo Banchero, who struggled versus the Hawks, their Hawks defense was built around stopping Paolo Banchero. They double teamed him, and they also clogged the lane and forced him to be uncomfortable and make him pass the ball. The Celtics, on the other hand, decided to kind of let him, go one-on-one with, whoever was guarding him. Sometimes Drew Holiday, and he did an okay job. But they let Paolo Banchero get to his spots and do what he needed to do. They did not want the rest of the team to get hot, and a lot of teams will do that with guys. I've seen teams do that with LeBron for a lot of his career, because I'm a Cavaliers fan. I watched a lot of LeBron playoff games. Some teams would be like, hey, we're going to let LeBron get his. As long as those shooters don't get going around him, we're going to be fine. He's not going to be able to score 100 points. And I know the Magic aren't like an amazing, three-point shooting team or anything, but if that's like their best shot is if they can get going and everybody gets involved. So with these picks that I have for game twos on Monday, I'm going with historical data. I'm going with what I saw on game one. There is going to be some regular season data, mixed in there, but let's get into it. So you will see images that come up on the screen right here. That's from a data app called Outlier. There'll be a link in the description that'll give you a 7-day free trial for Outlier. I will talk about some other games after the picks. This first game is the Pistons at the Knicks. The Pistons, they were really in it before they got to the fourth quarter last game. And they let a huge run go. I forgot the exact number, but a massive run go, and the Knicks just took over. And that run was mainly based off of guard play. I know Karl Anthony Towns was in there at the beginning, and then Josh Hart got mixed in a little bit, but it was a lot of Jalen Brunson and a lot of Cameron Payne guard play, and that is going to have to be the focus for the Pistons. Like, we were there. Of course, they need to score in the other end. That's how runs happen. You're not scoring on your side. So they're going to have to figure that out. But they're also going to have to watch that fourth quarter, and they're going to have to say, how do we not let this happen again? Because the Knicks are going to want to try to replicate it. But there was someone on the box score that was just quietly had a really good game. So I checked him out, and he has had consistently good games against the Pistons. So that guy is Karl Anthony Towns. And I like him for over 25.5 points plus assist, which is at minus 120 right now. Jalen Brunson is just a high volume shooter. He might just get his, but Cameron Payne being mixed in there, like you got to be able to stop that. And then Karl Anthony Towns quietly shoots, 10 for 14, has a really great game, and he's been able to do this against the Pistons all season long throughout 3 different games. He went over on this line, and then he went over last year when he played with the Timberwolves, and obviously over in this game. Adding the assist because he is a decent passer. If he starts to become a problem and they start to double team him or do whatever they need to or play solid defense on him, they have been solid against centers for most of the year. But when it comes to Karl-Anthony Towns, just the archetype, just the type of center he is, they seem to struggle a little bit. And then to add a little bit of context, the last 8 centers, this is on Outlier, the last 8 centers to play the Pistons have all gone over their points plus assist line, and that includes Karl-Anthony Towns from game 1. I'm thinking Pistons' main focus is going to be, how do we stop Jalen Brunson? How do we stop Cameron Payne from going off and all that? And my hope here is that Karl-Anthony Towns is kind of in the background because he wasn't part of that huge run. So hopefully he does become a problem and something they have to game plan for game 3. So if you guys could, please like the video, and if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. If you have a little bit of extra time, could you leave a comment for the algorithm? You could just put game 2 for these 2 games. And also, if you want to get away from Prizepicks, try something else out with dynamic payouts, more options. Check out Underdog Fantasy, Sleeper, ParlayPlay, ChalkBoard, or BETR. Underdog's matching your first deposit up to $1,000. The rest are doing it up to $100. Links are in the description. That'll take you straight there. Promo code is FINDAROUND11. And I noticed not many people using ChalkBoard anymore, but ChalkBoard has it. They brought the alt lines, and a lot of other apps had to change what they did because of ChalkBoard. ChalkBoard really changed the game. But getting into the second game is the Clippers at the Nuggets. In the first game, the Clippers were looking pretty strong. Nuggets made a comeback and that's forced overtime, and they ended up winning it, off a defensive play right there at the end of the game by Russell Westbrook. And he said it was something that a play that he already knew because he played with the Clippers. So somewhat of an advantage there for Russell Westbrook. So I want to talk about what Russell Westbrook. He played 35 minutes. That includes overtime. So if you take overtime away, he played about 30 minutes in regulation. He got just 2 extra points plus rebounds and assists. But he scored 15 points, had 8 rebounds and 3 assists. Was a big spark for the Nuggets, and I can see him being a big part of game 2 and throughout this series. So his line right now is at 19.5 points, rebounds, and assists for plus 100. And you'll see there on January 8th, he played against Clippers and he had 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists. Another huge game for him. So let's talk about that 30 minutes that he played. So I took Outlier and I filtered with it. And I filtered with 26 to 32 minutes. So I gave him just a couple of extra minutes there, and then 4 under that 30-minute mark. And we came away with an 82% hit rate on the year, 14 out of 17 on the over, playing that amount of minutes. So really like that. And then if you filter it down to home games, it's an 89% hit rate. He missed in just that very first game that he played in that minutes range, and then the rest of the season he has gone over at home. So just a little bit more context. The last 6 point guards against the Clippers have gone over their points, rebounds, and assists. That includes Jamal Murray from that game. He's a stat sheet stuffer, and it looks like just his veteran presence is going to be fruitful there for the Nuggets in this playoff series and throughout the playoffs if they can continue playing. I noticed a lot of people missing on their parlays throughout the playoffs. Just been 2 days so far, but the people who are successful are the ones who are alt-lining down. And when you do prop videos or whatever, you normally don't give the minus 300 alt whatever, unless you're just doing like a parlay video or whatever. So with these 2 plays, if you want to make like a safer play on DraftKings right now, if you take Karl-Anthony Towns just 20 plus points, and then Russell Westbrook, you can take his PRA and knock it down to 15 plus. That'll give you about minus 133, which is a safe play. Nothing crazy, but it could be the difference between a some green or some not green. So if you'd like to discuss lines further, I have a Discord. Link is in the description. You can talk about NBA, baseball, all that good stuff. That is free. no premium or VIP or anything like that. And then I want to talk about yesterday. The Warriors game is going on right now. I saw Fred VanVleet already had 5 points in the first quarter. And if you've been watching my channel for most of the year, I hate taking unders because I'm very matchup based, like a matchup based person. And whenever you have a bad matchup, your line is normally knocked down a little bit. And whenever I see a guy who hasn't done well against the team, has the bad matchup, the history is all there. The line is a little bit lower, but he still hasn't hit it. I'll take it, and that guy normally just goes off. And I just say I just hate unders for that reason. Let's get into the first one. Paolo Banchero, talked about him a little bit earlier. Hadn't done well against the Celtics this year. Celtics have been locked down on power forwards, but they kind of let him do what he needed to do. He looked great, but they still got whooped. And I'm sure the Celtics are perfectly fine with Paolo Banchero looking like a upcoming superstar, as long as they're winning by 15, 20 points. They don't care. They're just going to get their sweep and they're going to move on, and they'll just talk about how Paolo Banchero has the potential to be a star and all of that good stuff. But the rest of the guys for the Magic, not so great. So I faded him, and he crushed it. This next game was an interesting game. I'm a Cavaliers fan. I've watched a lot of Cavaliers games this season. So the Cavaliers bench is very important to them, and two guys off the bench are Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter. I've gone back and forth with them throughout the year. Whenever I take Ty Jerome, he normally does well, but there have been times where I've taken Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter just gets a ton of minutes, and he was starting to settle into a role where he got a decent amount of minutes off the bench. But right before the game started, there was a pop-up or report that Kenny Atkinson said that he was going to play 10 players deep. So that means he was going to play his regular rotation. And watching that game, the Cavaliers normally they pass the ball, they get a lot of assists, good ball movement, all that stuff. But it was really whoever brought the ball up was kind of going ISO one-on-one. They would take a three, they'd go get a layup. There was very little bit of kickouts to guys, and then swinging for 3-pointers and anything like that. It was a lot of one-on-one ISO ball. Very few pick and roll that they normally would do. I'm not sure if this is something they saw on film and they went ahead and said, this is what we're going to do. But DeAndre Hunter, unfortunately, isn't one of those guys. He's the guy that's going to stand in the corner and he's going to wait. There's plenty of times when the defense collapsed and he was there, but Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland, they did not care. They were going to go get their layup. On the other hand, Ty Jerome is a guy who will bring the ball up the court. And whenever he did, he did the same thing. He would go drive it, get a little floater, or just pull up three, knock it down, all that stuff. If I knew this was the game plan, I would have went with Ty Jerome instead of DeAndre Hunter. But my thinking was, okay, the playoffs, they're going to condense the lineup a little bit. DeAndre Hunter is going to get a lot of minutes, and he's going to get those kickouts and knock down those threes, but it did not happen. So those two did not hit, and now I have Fred VanVleet for under 14.5 points. I saw he had 5 in the first quarter. We'll see what happens there. Hopefully I can hit an under, but I'm not going to be looking too much for those. I see a lot of the unders are kind of for like the superstars on the teams that are getting the blowouts, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum points, those type of guys. Just the rest of the team is just doing everything for them. They don't really have to go all out. So just keep watching the games. We're gonna keep doing research and just trying to find some good plays for the days. I know that's a lot of talking for just 2 plays and 2 games, but my voice hasn't been great and I haven't been able to talk as much as I've wanted to lately. So I'm just letting it all out for you guys. So it's the final round. My name is Jordan. God bless you all. Hope you had a great Easter. I will catch you on the next one. Bye.